Well, later, during a press briefing, Trump appeared to backtrack on that statement, saying discussions with North Korea were on almost the highest level. He went on to say that his upcoming meeting with Kim Jong-un is likely to take place in June and that 5 possible locations are being considered. Well, meanwhile, the Washington Post has published a story claiming former CIA chief Mike Pompeo recently paid a secret visit to North Korea to lay the groundwork for direct talks between Trump and Kim. Well, for more on this intriguing story, we can now bring in human rights attorney Eric Sirotkin. Eric, thank you very much indeed for joining us. Well, as we just heard, Donald Trump said he spoke personally with Kim Jong-un and later appeared to backtrack. I mean, what do you think actually happened?
Well, it's hard to say. He goes forward, he goes back. We know that truth is not something that really binds the White House these days, which always gives us pause. However, what we do know is there have been talks at a highest level, whether you believe the Washington Post story and the CIA director visiting North Korea. But we do know that they're laying the groundwork for talks. What we don't know is how sincere they are in bending and discussing mutual compromises in the context of international agreements, and that has yet to be seen.
Well, let's look at some of these statements then, but as you say, from the Washington Post. Mike Pompeo, Trump's nominee for Secretary of State, reportedly went to North Korea during the Easter weekend. I mean, if that story is true, that's a positive sign, isn't it?
It's a very positive sign. I mean, we had Donald Trump saying people don't realize that the Korean War has not ended. I mean, that quote in and of itself from the President of the United States is huge, because many of us have been saying that forever, that we've only had a temporary armistice agreement, and the way to peace is by getting a peace treaty established between the parties. And so, you know, at this point in time, there is a lot of optimism, the optimism that they will talk, the optimism that Trump may see this as a legacy issue for him while undergoing incredible scrutiny and tough times here in the States. And so with that in mind, we don't know quite what can come about with this, but we know that if we can somehow, even between North and South Korea, give Donald Trump naming rights, call it the Trump peace plan. I don't care what it takes. I don't think the South Koreans care what it's called. But what we want to do is establish peace after so long.
And also, I mean, let's look at some of the details with the meeting he's had with Shinzo Abe. I mean, these also heavily focus the talks on North Korea. I mean, how closely will the US be working with Japan on any possible deal going forward, do you think?
Well, you have similar situations. Prime Minister Abe and President Trump are both having a difficult time on their domestic fronts. And in this situation, we've had often Japan being an impediment as well to peace with Korea. So it's very difficult to tell what's going on, other than what has been going on solidly is that President Moon in South Korea, who is himself a progressive lawyer who's spoken of a sunshine policy and is following through on it, is moving forward in that regard. And whether Trump is, as he says, given his blessings to North and South Korea, whatever that means, we have a strong move by the South to say we don't need this state of war to hamper our economy, to require us to spend so much on militarization, but that perhaps there can be an opening right now to peace. But when you have John Bolton entering on the other side now, that is of great concern, because John Bolton, as a national security advisor, was asked earlier, many years ago, what is his policy on North Korea? And he held up the book, The End of North Korea. So a lot of uncertainties, but I think there are shreds of hope here that maybe we're turning the corner and can't go back, and maybe we have the time that Donald Trump can at least stumble into a real lasting Trump peace plan in Korea.
And finally then, Eric, on that note, if the much anticipated Trump-Kim summit does go ahead, what can we expect from it, do you think?
I think we can expect there to be discussion on both sides about the militarization of the peninsula. I mean, the U.S. had signed an agreement at the time of armistice to remove all troops. There's going to be discussions about why are there 30,000 troops in more than 100 bases and posts in South Korea. Everything needs to be on the table. But North Korea has also said several times in the last year, Kim Jong-un has said that he would consider denuclearization if the hostile policy of the United States is ended. So a true peace treaty and beginning exchanges on many levels could come out of this agreement, and maybe it could be just possible that the Trump administration is looking past right now to the future and recognizing that they would prefer to have a more friendly country on the border with China, friendly to the United States, than a country that's a strong ally with China. So a lot of geopolitical things are operating in the background as well.
And on that positive note, then we'll leave it. Eric